So I'm 3D printing, I'm doing animation, and now I'm learning C++. Why? Two reasons. First of all, I have that kind of brain that it's very hard for me just to do one thing. If I focus on just one thing, that one thing still takes the same amount of time as if I was doing three things mostly. I have to have variety. I have to be able, when I get stuck on one thing, to flip to the other thing. I'm a very, I've mentioned this before, I've sort of I keep saying sort of, but it's been diagnosed. I've got ADHD, so what I try to use is use it to my advantage. I know what my brain is like, so I like having multiple skills. But strangely, all of this does tie together. The 3D printing is an outlet for the models that I make that other people can buy and download, and that's starting to happen, and that will support eventually the animation side of it. And some of the 3D models I make in the animation will be released as maquettes or masks or whatever, or inspirations for. And the C++ is because I've got game ideas that have been mulling for a long time, and I just want to make them. And I want to also understand Unreal Engine much more as well. And as Unreal Engine runs on C++, it sort of made sense to me, because I also want to do other stuff as well. I want to do some automation stuff as well. There are things that I need to do, and all of it sort of ties into each other. So while YouTube is not liking it at the moment, I'm going to persevere, because I think it's actually important to be honest and present me as a person and how I am, which is a little bit flighty, admittedly. I do flick between things, but eventually I get something out of that, and it helps me stay productive, because if I'm just doing the one thing, I will get stuck and then not do anything at all. If I get stuck, I can flick to the other thing and do that, and then my brain in the meantime has fixed the other problem, and then I can flick back and get that done. Or I can do little chunks through the day, so I don't get, what's the word, bored is not the right word, but not get in a rut. And I guess boredom is kind of it a little bit as well, because you do kind of get burnt out. Maybe that's more of it. Like, at one point I was running a pub, and I was a bit reluctant at first to do it, but then I thought, well, no one else is doing it, let's do it. And I got involved in it, and what the wonderful piece of advice I got was, just beware of burnout, because you will have so much enthusiasm in the first 3 months, and you won't even believe the amount of energy you have for the thing. You will do this thing for the first 3 months, but then it will wane and you will crash, and then you won't be able to do anything, and you'll feel like shit. So pace yourself. You will be able to do stuff, but you need to walk away and reserve some of that energy and keep it in reserve as almost like an encouragement to come back the next day, and also to save yourself. And it's a bit like that, except it's all of these things right now don't look like they're connected, but I know they're connected. I am the coin-op animator. My goal is to do animation in the games industry, and it's a bit of a full circle thing. When I was a kid, I wanted to work in the games industry, but we moved to New Zealand and there wasn't an industry there, and I went on to become a designer instead, or making graphics. Yep, beside the point. But I am going to make some games. I am going to animate in those games, and what's going to happen is that we are going to flip back and forward a little bit. The 3D printing doesn't seem like it actually is directly connected. It's more of an adjunct. But you know, I'm primarily a sculptor. I can draw, but I'm a bit slow. I'm getting better. But I'm primarily a sculptor and I work in 3D. So it sort of makes sense for me to have an outlet for my models. And you know, the success on Maker World in the 3 months I've been on there proves that there's a good idea. And to share my little inventions around the house, what I do with other people, has been great. And I think all these little things coalesce and come together. Even me making films back in the day, I'm not making films at the moment, but those skills aren't lost. You know, I've worked with actors, I know how to work with actors, I can write. All of those things are coalescing into this thing, which is which has become the Coin Up Animator. I'm trying very hard not to do movie reviews and stuff like that. Even though I'm getting requests to do that, I'm not going that divergent. But all of this will feed and will coalesce into something that perhaps now isn't very clear, perhaps is not something that I can talk too much about, because I don't want to give the idea away, because I can't program very well at the moment, and it's going to take me a long while, a very long while, to get the game ready, even to show. You know, like I still have a lot to learn before I even get to that stage, and it's not an overly ambitious game. I have other games that I need to make to lead up to that game. So that's going to be a long process. But in the meantime, the C++ will help me with my animations in Unreal, which you've not seen too much of at the moment, and will help me with my scripting. It's already helping me with my scripting in DaVinci Resolve, and that will lead on to Maya, Blender, etc., etc. So all of this feels a bit chaotic, and YouTube isn't liking the postings. Like, it's not promoting my programming side of it, because it feels like it's something completely different. And I have said before that everything with YouTube in particular has to be very focused, and the 3D printing stuff specifically has been doing very well. The animation stuff a little less well. Like, it's in tier levels really. 3D printing, animation, and the programming is right at the bottom. And my thoughts of the world, which I'm really trying to keep out of this channel, but it's all connected, and YouTube can't see it. Maybe they will at some point, but I'm going to persevere, and it's bad for my channel to be doing it this way, I realize. But if nothing else, this is a record of my journey through animation, and I can look back on this, or others could look back on this and see where I went right and where I went wrong. You know, because if this doesn't succeed, this would still be a document of why I didn't succeed. And maybe this decision now to include little updates on the programming. So we're going to focus on 3D printing and animation, but the programming is feeding into that. And maybe I'm going to do a little bit about writing and storyboarding as that progresses, but I think that'll be more of a holistic, more of a, this is how this project works. And you can already see some of that in the making of videos, which admittedly don't do great, but they're still there, the making of my animations. But yeah, that's what's going on at the moment. That's why you're seeing, or you might not actually be seeing, but that's why I'm posting stuff about the programming in addition to the 3D printing, in addition to the animation stuff. And obviously there are times where some things are become more important than others, like the back end stuff, like I don't have to do so much work on the shop at the moment because all that's sort of settled, like the coding of that, and I hadn't really put a lot of information out about that because I feel that's too far off what I hate to use the phrase, I can't think of a better phrase though, the mission statement of Coin Up Animator is. So that's, the gaming side of it, the animation side of it, the 3D printing side of it, bear with me, it's coming together, it will make sense, and likes, shares, all of that is very important, because we are kind of fighting the algorithm here. The algorithm does not like anything that doesn't have a specificity to it, does not have a focus. And in my mind, this is a focus, but it may just be a little bit too ADHD for the algorithm to include the programming in it as well. But it does have a purpose. And I don't want to betray that. I don't want to change me for a computer algorithm. I want the computer algorithm to come along on the journey as well. So anyway, that's a little bit of the behind the scenes. I need to go and have some food because this brain doesn't work without food and I will get exceptionally grumpy.